Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something seriously fascinating. We are unpacking a highly complex and, honestly, kind of mysterious document that actually attempts to decode human consciousness. Specifically, we're zeroing in on the mechanics of altered states. Now, taking on a topic like this, yeah, it can feel a little daunting, but the really great thing about the source material we're looking at is that it doesn't just throw us into the deep end. Instead, it takes a super structured approach to explaining something that is practically profound.
So let's just dive right in. The absolute fundamental question our source text is trying to answer is this: how do we comprehend the mechanics of altered states of consciousness? And we aren't just talking about what an altered state feels like to you or me. We are talking about the actual mechanics, like the underlying engine under the hood of how it operates. Explaining a completely subjective, internal experience in strict, objective mechanical terms, well, that is a massive explanatory challenge. You really need a solid method to translate the incredibly abstract into something concrete, something we can actually digest. Which brings us to the gateway experience. That's the ultimate destination this document is guiding us toward: achieving altered states of consciousness involving brain hemisphere synchronization, or what's commonly referred to as hemisync. Now, what's really interesting here is that this isn't framed as magic or mysticism, not at all. It's presented as a highly targeted mechanical biological process. Understanding exactly how this specific state of hemisync works is the core goal of the document, and the strategy it uses to teach it to us is really distinct. Because think about it. Jumping cold into the advanced mechanics of hemisync is just a recipe for total confusion. The author totally recognizes that to grasp the actual physics of brain synchronization, we first need a bridge from the known to the unknown. We absolutely have to anchor ourselves in familiar territory before we go blasting off into uncharted cognitive space. To build that bridge, the text explicitly profiles the basic mechanics of three methods you've probably heard of. We're talking about related methods with shared basic mechanics: hypnosis, transcendental meditation, and biofeedback. Yep, the exact same techniques you might run into at a weekend wellness retreat. And those are the very stepping stones this deeply analytical, historically covert document uses to prepare us for the much heavier concepts coming up. Now, you might be wondering, why those three specific techniques? Well, it isn't random. These associated techniques share common aspects with the gateway experience. By looking at how something like biofeedback or hypnosis operates, we're basically looking at individual pieces of a much larger puzzle. It's kind of like learning to drive a go-kart before you get behind the wheel of a Formula One car. The basic physics are exactly the same, even if the ultimate application is, vastly different. The author is actually incredibly transparent about this whole methodology. They openly state, and I quote, "It is easiest to effectively describe what gateway is by beginning with a short description of those associated techniques." They know this stuff is complicated, so they are explicitly, on purpose, starting us right in our comfort zone. They go on to say we need to, quote, "develop a frame of reference at the outset which will provide useful concepts to explain and understand gateway by comparison." By developing this frame of reference right out of the gate, we're basically building a conceptual toolkit for ourselves. This ensures that whenever we hit a really difficult, abstract concept later on, we have a familiar point of comparison, like meditation, for example, to fall back on. It literally prevents us from being completely overwhelmed by the complexities of hemisphere synchronization. But okay, there is a super vital distinction we need to make here. While we are using these familiar methods to build our toolkit, we absolutely cannot confuse them with the final goal. If we compare the two, the associated techniques share common aspects, but the gateway experience is nevertheless different. It is fundamentally distinct. The basic mechanics might share some DNA, sure, but we are specifically warned not to mistake the stepping stones for the final destination. The gateway experience is its own unique, highly specialized state of brain hemisphere synchronization. Which leaves us with a final, really provocative thought to ponder. If the deepest, most complex mysteries of human consciousness are actually built upon states we already casually experience, how will your own understanding of familiar mental states unlock the mechanics of the gateway experience? When you're faced with a vast unknown of the human mind, the best place to start, well, it's with what you already know. Thanks so much for watching this explainer. I hope you found it as fascinating as I did.